Hey, Innocence Projects, this case, it needs to be looked at if it hasn't been. Imagine being 19 years old, barely able to read beyond an elementary level, sitting in an interrogation room in rural Mississippi, accused of killing a police officer. And the only thing that ties you to the crime is a confession that you maintain was forced out of you. American history is full of cases just like this. That was the hell that Edward Earl Johnson faced. In 1979 in Walnut Grove, Mississippi, Town Marshal J.T. Trest was shot and killed after responding to a reported assault. Edward Earl Johnson, a 19-year-old black teenager, was arrested. Police quickly proclaimed that he had confessed. Johnson later said he signed that confession because he was threatened and he was terrified. He repeatedly said that he was told that if he didn't cooperate, he would be shot. He was tried, convicted of capital murder, and sentenced to death by gas chamber, Mississippi's method at the time. Now, here's where it gets complicated and pretty uncomfortable. During his appeals, his lawyer presented evidence that Edward had significant intellectual limitations. He had struggled in school. He reportedly read around an elementary school level. IQ testing placed him in the low 70s, which is considered borderline intellectual functioning, and very close to the traditional cutoff for intellectual disability. Now, that does not automatically mean someone cannot understand right from wrong, and it does not automatically make someone innocent, but it does raise serious questions about how vulnerable someone like that might be during a high-pressure police investigation, especially in 1979 in Mississippi. His conviction relied very heavily on that confession. There was no strong physical evidence placing him at the scene. His appeals, well, they argued that his intellectual limitations made him especially susceptible to coercion. The courts flatly rejected all of those arguments. Every single request for stay was denied. During his time on death row, he was quiet and reflective. In the British documentary called 14 Days in May, you see a young man waiting, hoping someone would stop it, someone would believe him, but that call never came. On May 20th, 1987, Edward was executed. His last words were about waiting for the lifeline that never came. And here's another key point that most people miss. When Edward was executed, there was no constitutional ban on executing people with intellectual disabilities. That ruling wouldn't come until 2002 in Atkins versus Virginia. So even though his IQ was near the threshold that would today trigger a full legal review, the law at the time didn't protect him. He maintained his innocence till the very end. Now, his case forces a really hard question. If someone with borderline intellectual functioning confesses under pressure, how confident are we in that confession? And if his case had happened 15 years later, would the outcome have been different? That is not an easy conversation to have, but it's one worth having. You might not have heard his name, but Edward Earl Johnson was a young black man in Mississippi whose last 2 weeks alive were caught on camera. The documentary didn't just show his final moments, it forced the world to ask the hard questions. Did the legal system treat him fairly? Was his confession reliable? Could racism, pressure from law enforcement, and an imperfect justice system have played a key role? Millions around the world watched and wondered, and I bet you are now too. Like, follow, share, and subscribe for more history that forces you to ask and answer the hardest questions.